in the Senate. Looks like they got enough votes for that. The American Families Plan is going to be the next bill. That possibly would be the fourth stimulus check and extend out the child tax credit. There is these reoccurring payments that will be sent out next week to about 40 million people out there. Plus, a lot of the states now are stepping up. There's about 17 different states that are going to be sending out bonus checks to people in their areas. There was close to $300 billion that was sent out, divided up with all the states. So it looks like they're going to try to take that money and then put it back into the economy, hopefully get people spending, getting people out there and moving that money around. I think in the future there's going to have some type of new stable coin that the Federal Reserve will put into people's apps. They'll call it the Fed Now coin. That's going to be something that I do believe will be coming down the road quickly. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Federal Reserve to get some type of Fed coin out so they can get the stimulus into people's hands versus waiting for Congress and waiting for banks. So this bipartisan infrastructure plan looks like it's getting enough votes. This is where a lot of the bills they die out because of these, they can't get enough people to vote on these. They can't get enough senators to vote on it. You need 60 votes total in the Senate, and it looks like they got 69 total votes in favor of this infrastructure bill. It's a $1 trillion package. This is something that the federal government is going to have to go into more debt with this. They're going to print more money in order to get this bill passed. And it looks like they have enough votes for it. There is a giant, bigger bill. It's a $3.5 trillion budget bill. This is something that the federal government's got to put together to have the military continue on. They got to spend $3.5 trillion just to keep the federal government operating, which is insanity as far as the biggest number. Now, if they can turn around and use that and start getting more stimulus checks out to everybody, I think that's going to be a great plan. The American Jobs Plan is what has been proposed here, and this is what's going to be passed, the American Jobs Plan. Now, there is this American Families Plan. He's trying to get this passed. I'm not sure if they're going to try to put this into this budget plan, but Congress is going to go back and forth until they can get this new plan. They're going to have to raise the debt ceiling again in order to get this budget set up. But a lot of this money is just going to be spent on a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders wants to put together and wants to get his take on a lot of the things that he wants to add into these bills. A lot of green energy stuff, a lot of new things like that. I do believe if you are looking for a new change in a career, any of these things that the money is being sent into as far as infrastructure plan, if you can get your hands or if you can get in front of these infrastructure bills, and if you can position yourself in front of where all this flood of money is going to be coming in from the federal government, I think you're going to be in a great spot for that. So a lot of the environmental stuff, bridges, roads, internet, anything like that, if you can get on one of those industries, then you will pick up a ton of money, I think, extra in this new budget plan, because they're going to throw $1 trillion into this infrastructure plan and make it massive and make it big.
Madam President, my Republican colleagues are upset that we are using the reconciliation process and only 50 votes to pass this budget. They're very upset about that. But let us be clear. This idea of using reconciliation is certainly not a new idea. When Republicans controlled the Senate, they used reconciliation to pass trillions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 1% and large corporations. When Republicans controlled the Senate, they used reconciliation to make climate change worse by opening up the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge to oil drilling. When Republicans controlled the Senate, they tried to use reconciliation to repeal the Affordable Care Act and throw 32 million Americans off of that they had. Well, today it is true. We will also use reconciliation, but we will do it in a different way. We will use it to help the working families of our country and not just the wealthy and the powerful. Madam President, it is no great secret that millions of Americans are giving up on democracy, are moving toward authoritarianism, and are losing faith in their government. Many of those people are working longer hours for lower wages, They can't afford to send their kids to college, and they worry very much about the future of their kids and the future of this country. This legislation will not only provide enormous support, unprecedented in recent American history, to the children in our country, to the parents in our country, to the elderly people in our country, to the working families of our country, but it will also, I hope, restore the faith of the American people in the belief that we can have a government that works for all of us and not just the few.
So it's good news for a lot of the people that own or have children. If you do have children and you file them on your returns as dependents, you would have gotten a $1,400 check for that, but you're also going to be receiving these monthly payments. If you did get it in late, that's okay. You're still going to be picking up the monthly payment. So anybody that has children between the age of 6 and 17 will be getting a $250 check every month, and it'll be going out this week, I believe. And then $300 check to anybody with kids under the age of 6. And this multiplies out by how many kids you have. So it could add up to quite a bit of money. What they're going to be doing is they're giving $3,600 to everybody with kids under the age of 6. And they're giving you half of that amount between July and the month of December. And then next month in March, they'll give you the other half. So it'll be $1,800 now, $1,800 next month. Now, the American Families Plan, where they're going to try to get a stimulus out. So those of you that don't have children, this might be the fourth stimulus check. Also, this is going to try to extend out that child tax credit to the year 2025. So they'd be giving you $3,600 per child for the next 4 or 5 years, and that would be something that they would pay out on a monthly basis. That would be a reoccurring payment to a lot of the families that do have children. I believe that's where the universal basic income is going to be starting, is they're going to slip that into this child tax credit, and eventually they'll be paying out people on a monthly consistent basis. But I think they have to get Federal Reserve to create that digital coin. They have to create that stable coin. They got to be able to do that, get that onto people's apps, and then be letting them spend that money. It's the only way they can do it right now. The Treasury has to wait for Congress. They got to wait for Joe Biden, the president, whoever's the president at the time, to sign the bill and then get the money out. If they can bypass that whole process, then it's going to be good news for a lot of people that want a third or even a fourth stimulus check. One of the things that people keep asking is, how do you get a hold of the Treasury and how do you get a hold of them to get your payment? So there's two things you can do. You can call the 800 number. It's 800-919-9835. But you can also go to the Get My Payment tool to see the status of your payment. If you did not file your returns, just go to the Treasury website. There is a free filing tool that you can go there and you can pick up information on how to file. You get your information in there. You can get your bank account information in there, your address, and then they'll be able to send you out a stimulus check. But those are the two ways to do that. I wouldn't expect much from this 800 number. It might take you a long time to get to a live person. I know they're probably getting overwhelmed with people picking up that number and calling that. So just be aware of that when you go into it. You might have to wait a while before you get somebody live on there to find out where your stimulus check is at. So it's good news for a lot of people who live in different states. Now, obviously, all the states haven't stepped up and spent the money yet. But California right now is going to be sending $600 to anybody between the adjusted gross income of $30,000 and $75,000, paid $500 to households with dependent children. So California is the only state right now that's actually sending out stimulus checks that they have received money from the federal government. So they're actually turning around and using that $37 billion or so, whatever amount it is, to pay out the people in their state. Colorado looks like they're going to be sending out $375. They have to at least one unemployment check. So people that do live in Colorado, you're going to be picking up a stimulus. Maryland looks like they're going to be paying $500 for families and $300 for individuals who filed an earned income tax credit. And then you have New Mexico. New Mexico received $1.8 billion in the stimulus package, and they're going to be sending out $5 million to their citizens. To me, it seems a little low, but maybe that's, I guess that's the population in the state of New Mexico. It seems a little low. Maybe they can bump that number up a lot. So Florida is going to be sending out $1,000 checks to teachers and administrators. But Florida also is recently going to be sending out checks to frontline workers. That includes police, I believe it's going to be fire department, and then doctors in hospitals. So look for those checks coming out, I think, next month in September for that. And then Georgia, they're going to be sending out $1,000 checks to teachers and administrators, and then $500 to part-time teachers. Michigan has already sent out $500 hazard pay bonuses. And then Tennessee, looks like $1,000 checks are going to be sent out also as hazard pay bonuses. So good news for those that live in that state. And then Texas, it doesn't look like the Texas state is actually sending out more checks, but individual cities are going to have some type of stimulus package where they'll return that money to the people that live in that area. So Fort Worth or Arlington, Denton, Mansfield, looks like teachers will receive a raise. Denton employees also have $500 bonus in Irving, and then $200 payment will be distributed to a staff who return to the classroom in September. That'd be a great bonus, trying to get teachers back into the classroom. So I look forward to seeing that happen here pretty quick. You know, most people want to know when this fourth stimulus check is going to be coming up. Again, I personally think the Fed is going to have an app before they get any type of new bill set up. The Fed will drop that app in there and you'll be able to spend it. It's the quickest way to do it. But right now they're going back and forth between Congress and the banks and Treasury and all that. They can't figure out what's next. But there is this giant petition for trying to get $2,000 payments for adults and $1,000 payments for kids. And I think it's important because this puts a lot of pressure on Congress. It puts a lot of pressure on Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to see that this is what people want. And so they can work on this bill. It takes a lot of pressure